Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Get in here. Get in here. Get in here. Get in here. We live. We live. We live. We live. Get in here. Hi, Ram.
Hey, dog, you're freezing for me.
Oh no! What is going on with the internet today? So maybe it was us, huh? I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah, how you guys doing today? Welcome to the show. Get in here, get in here, get in here, get in here, get in here. Welcome to the kitchen table talk for another episode where no topic is too heavy
Or
or
too light.
for the table. Man, you dragging lady. You got to be on time.
It's dragging. It's dragging. It's the
Oh,
internet. It's not
it's a
me.
delay. Okay, it is a delay. It's a delay. Well, we're gonna get right into our kitchen soup today. Get in here, get in here, get in here. We got some comments.
Get in
Let's
here.
see. Rayshana, hey, Rissandra, how you doing? How you doing? Y'all get in here, get in here, get in here. Get in here, get in here. Hi, everybody. Hold on one second.
Hope you guys are having a good day. We are trying to work with this internet that is
Oh,
dragging on us today.
it's always something, like, but we are not giving in to the devil. We are gonna keep this thing rolling. Get in here, get in
Yeah.
here, get in here. We giving y'all a few more
Yes.
minutes. Gather in. Come on in. Scoot over, scoot over. Get in.
Gather. What you say? Gather.
Gather, gather, gather. Click, like, and share. Click, like, and share. I think I'm gonna make that a musical.
Oh,
Yeah.
do it again.
Here, you guys. We got some good stuff going on tonight. You guys, if you're not interested, click like and share. Somebody else might be interested. We don't want to be selfish. So click like and share. Ain't nothing wrong.
Yeah.
It don't cost you nothing to share. We ain't gonna send you no bill for it. So go ahead, click like and share. While we get into our kitchen soup segment.
Hey, Vicky, thank you for joining, lady.
Hey, Vicky, our number one fan. Get in here, get in here, get in here, get in here. Hey, Susie Q, get in here, get in here. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Oh my God, I'm so excited tonight. We have some goodies for y'all. You guys, how was y'all week? Everybody safe? Everybody staying safe? Because we are still in the midst of a pandemic.
Right.
I learned a new word, endemic. I mean, it's in here. Endemic. It ain't going to it's intertwined. Pandemic is worldwide. Pandemic now it's just everywhere. So yeah, I listened to an interview this week with a biologist, Dr. Roland, who I want him to come on the show so he can tell you guys himself all about this corona thing. And oh my God, fascinating information. But it looks like it's here to stay for a while. Rona ain't going nowhere for a while. Y'all can stop fooling yourself thinking May 15th is going to be lifted. It is not. It's going to be here for a while. So hunker down, bunker down, and get ready.
And not only bunker down, do what you can in this time. Like, take advantage of the time. Whatever it is that you can do as an individual. I understand that we are being affected globally. But let's think about the effect that it's having on us as individuals. What can you do as an individual? Because it's really not much we can do globally, but what can you do in your own home for your own self and your own family, right? How can you level up? And even if that means that you are leveling up spiritually, physically, mentally, you are doing something during this time aside from worrying. Because worrying never really gets us anywhere but sick.
Right. It internally, it just messes with your body. Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Right.
In my life.
So overdo it with looking at the news and listening to,
Yeah.
the news and all of the stories, because it can be very heavy. It can be very depressing and stressful, especially if you're one that, you're out of work or you got kids at home that you're now teaching, and like you've put on a totally different hat now than you did a month and a half, 2 months ago. So it can be a lot, and get around some folks that are speaking life and not death. Remember, what you feed will grow, right?
And,
If you feed it, it's gonna grow. If you starve it, it's gonna die. So what are you feeding?
and power and life and death lies in the power of the tongue, for sure. Hold on, man. Let me get my phone.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
life and death definitely lies in the power of the tongue. So, like you said, get around people who speaking life into any situation for real, because that crap is no joke.
It's no, and regular life don't stop. Regular life does not stop just because it's not like God said, okay, well, since Corona is there, everything else in your life that may have its bumps and bruises, I'm gonna pause that for you. No, you're still gonna, encounter those things in life.
Right, right. Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it is what it is. Just got to get used to it. I do want to, like everybody else, been giving kudos to our healthcare professionals. Man, I work with them. And I've been getting stories from them, and whew, they ain't reporting some of the stuff, but they are very heroic. When I say heroic, these men and women are very heroic. We don't know or see
Right.
half of the stuff that's actually going on in the hospital. So much so to the point, I know New York had reported at one point they were getting to a point where they were having to choose, you know, and so it's kind of almost getting that way here. Not so much where they choosing just yet, but they're literally like, okay, when it's time to resuscitate, who going in? They flipping coins, like, it's like, who gonna go in this time? Because it's a lot to reset. That takes a lot, and then they have to gear up, and it's just a lot. It's a lot that I'm hearing, and so my hats are off to them, as well as our heroic teachers who stay at home with all them babies.
Right. The teachers are now parents, or parents are now teachers, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but you know what? I think they will get from this, start the discipline at home. Now that you see what these teachers have to deal with every day with your kid, and when before you was all, well, what's she saying to my kid, and what you better hope somebody don't say something to your kid. But it should start
Right.
at
Okay.
home. It really should
DAMARIS,
start. Huh?
can you guys? Are you guys able to hear me, or are you only hearing Tina?
Who can't hear you? Oh wait, let me go to my comments. I have
Ask
Damaris.
them if they
Can you guys hear Ram? Can anybody hear Ram? Can y'all hear Ram? Get in here, get in here, get in here. We're getting ready to introduce our special guest. But before we do that, we want to make sure you can hear everybody. I can hear you. I don't know why they can't. I can hear you. Are you on your computer or your phone?
I'm on a computer, but I'm looking at the private chat. Our guest is saying that she can't hear me. But I'm looking at it on my phone, so I hear me on the phone. So maybe it's something from her end. I don't know.
Make sure you
But
turn your volume down on your phone, Ram.
no, I'm not on my phone.
Oh, I thought you said
I'm
you
on
hear
the
it on
computer. I'm watching us live on the phone, so that
Oh,
I was trying to see if I can hear you, and I can't.
Vicky said
So
yes. Daddy said he hear you. Hey, Daddy. We all the way from Beaumont, Texas. We got New Orleans in the house.
all
And
the way,
Beaumont,
all
Texas.
the way from Beaumont, Texas.
We worldwide. I don't know what y'all talking about. My little situation said we got viewers all the
I
way in
know.
Africa. So yeah. Anyway, I don't want to make small of that. But so we're gonna get out the way. We got Miss Damaris. I be wanting to say
Tomorrow.
Damaris, but Damaris Gandy coming on, and she's gonna share her story from then to now. And I'm not going to speak too much on it because I want to give her an opportunity to say what it is she has to say and how she's going to say it. So you guys welcome Damaris to the show. Hey, Damaris. Welcome to the show.
Hey, sweetheart. So we can't hear her.
Uh, it's very, very low. No. See how that old devil be trying to work? Cause she got some good stuff to say. She gonna, anytime it's a method to help somebody. They're always the devil is always trying to hinder the work that you got going. But no, we still can't hear you, Damaris. But while she work on her sound, we'll just tell you a little bit about are you coming in? Is that her? I can't. She said 1 second. Okay. All right. So we're gonna let her work on that for a little while right now. Can you hear her?
I can hear.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so a little bit about her background. She was in somebody else's device. Oh, you coming in on another one?
So
We'll try that one. Okay. Go ahead, Damaris.
I think okay. There we go. Yeah. There you
Can
go.
you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes.
Okay. So this is like delayed, but okay. So this is a little delayed, but hopefully people are patient.
Yes, just let them be patient. Go ahead and do your thing. So Damaris, you can go ahead and
Okay.
the way I met Damaris, we actually met previously at a friend of ours social event. And since then, we've been following each other on social media. And then I learned that she had some experience in um, uh, the sex trafficking world. So I want her to tell a little bit about that story and um, how she get there and what happened.
So the misconception I think is it's like a huge thing. Like sexual exploitation is huge, and it's more so like the advocates that exist in the world today mostly focus on kids. Like so they believe, like I've taken a few I have certifications with a woman named Nola Brantley, who was introduced to the sex world the sex industry at a young age. She was in an abusive relationship. So she basically, now she's like an advocate, and she teaches people that especially work in social work or in group homes, transitional housing. She pretty much allows those people to be educated on how to deal and identify kids that may be in danger of being sex trafficked, as well as sexually exploited in the commercial realm. So I was introduced to it as a whole adult, I would like to think. However, as people do like more and more research and try to understand how one ends up in the sex industry and being sexually exploited, it ends up being a pattern that starts at a young age. So as you may know or have noticed, there's a lot of child abuse. There's a lot of sexual abuse with children at a young age. It could be a family member. It could be a friend of the family. But a lot of times, especially in the Black community, I feel like it happens more often than not. I can think off the top of my head 5 of my friends that have experienced this when they were like as young as 5, 6 years old. So they've what they've discovered is that there's a pattern. So typically, I don't know, I won't say that this is the exact pattern, but pretty much something happens when you're young. You end up, you know, having this perception of love and sex and connecting, the two together as, however you would view that as a child. You start to feel isolated. You don't have your boundaries have been jeopardized at a very young age. And then all of this, there's like this pattern that ends up happening when you're older, that either you end up in not so healthy situations as an adult. And this could look like sex exploitation, or it could be on the low end, which is being involved in some type of like, standard abusive relationship, or a relationship that doesn't serve you. There's different types of abuse. But for me, I wasn't introduced into the sex world until I was 20, in my 20s, but I still had habits and certain things that happened because of trauma that I experienced as a child. So I think that everything plays a part in how you view yourself as a woman when you get older, and based on the trauma that you experience, you act out or you respond in certain ways.
I think.
Right. Do you think, I was trying to make sure that she was done and it didn't just cut us off. So do you think that as a result of
Yeah, I was like,
what you experienced as a child, do you think that as a result of what you experienced as a child kind of encouraged what you did when you became in your 20s, or was that just a choice that you made? Or do you think they're parallel?
So here's the thing. I've actually been in conversations with my therapist because I wasn't like the many, like I didn't really fit the statistic. And I started having sex, like I lost my virginity at 12 years old. To my age, for my age, being developed when I was as young as 8. I always attracted older men, but I was never unwillingly touched, even though, a child is a child. And if you're below you know, if you're not legal, no one should be touching you. But it wasn't like I was considered, the fast girl when I was there. So with that being said, I never felt, I guess I never had those feelings of being violated when I was young. And like a lot of the women, the young girls that are excuse my dog, the young women that are they end up getting exploited and end up getting, pimped on and brought into the industry against their will, or being forced or manipulated or coerced. They maybe had a different upbringing. My mom, I'm an only child. I was just, my mom was working, and I was in what my grandma would call being fast. I was leaving and going to hang out with grown men, or just men, like older men that were like 18, 19, 20s when I was young, like in 13, 14, 15. At some point, and again, this is something that I'm working out with my therapist, somehow connected older non-Black men with wealth. Like I made that association. Like men had money, older men had money, they were established, and they loved young women. And once I made that connection, it was like I would see someone, and like it would automatically go into like, okay, what can this older person do for me? Then how, moving on, like later on in life, like over the time, I would have what they would call a sugar daddy. I would have a number of people who I had arrangements with. And then I ended up getting with someone in my 20s, my early 20s, who basically, he went through a whole bunch of other stuff. He caught wind of that I had that trait, or that habits or those things that I did. And the moment that he realized that I was willing to like date older men for money or have arrangements and whatnot, he basically decided to use that to his advantage. And then we were in an actual relationship for a year before like the first time he ever suggested that we get money together, as he would call it. So people get into the lifestyle over the reason why they call it commercial, well, not the reason why they call it that, but a lot of things that we pick up is a part of their culture. So we watch Pretty Woman, we hear songs about get money, get that, like take his, spend his money and take his back. Like these are things that we grew up hearing. At least even when I think of like, yeah, it's pretty vulgar, right about. But when I hear old songs, like I hear old songs that talk about it all the time. Like there's you know, there's a song, that's what I want, like the money song. I don't know if it come out, but back in the day, they were getting it in. Like there was been, there was this other song that comes on Christmas, like a couple of songs, like whole culture and like that, that submissives, play your role, play your position, get money. And this is pretty much, maybe I was just really sensitive to, things that were going on when I was growing up, but I quickly put two and two together. So yeah, I don't, for me, like it wasn't anyone like, I wasn't molested, and I'm very aware that happens, but it wasn't my story. But I know that I was, obviously 12 is entirely too young to be having sex. So there was a form of abuse there, just not the type of abuse that typically is the standard for this type of lifestyle.
So, right, but that, to me, it seems like definitely something that you were looking for when you were having your dealings, whether it was the stuff that they could provide because of the void that you had. And so maybe you felt, I don't know, do you think that it made you feel like you were wanted, you were needed, or was it just the stuff that they could provide for you?
I think it was more so a part of me. I don't know if y'all into astrology, but I'm an Aquarius. I'm very rebellious. If I'm very like trying to, figure out ways to, if it's an opportunity to get it, like, and I have to learn how to do something, like I'm gonna figure it out. So for me, it was almost like it was a control thing. Like I may not have had, not control, but I may have had opportunities to, like, it could go this way or that way. I could be a slut or I could make some money. And that's how, like, I was always very sexual. Like I was very in tune from a young age. I told my therapist like a long time ago, I was like, maybe it was just something that was like generational, and it was something that was like beyond my control. Cause I was extremely like, and I wasn't the only one. Like we had a couple of the girls that I grew up with, like they were pregnant by 13. Like it wasn't new. It was just, for me, I somehow managed to make this connection. Like, okay, you could either be slutty, have sex with everybody, or you can specifically, like, that wasn't working. So you target these men in particular and get something out of it. So like at some point I just made that connection. And as much as I, as much as I hate, like I made connections with people who were willing to do things for me that it was 10 times easier in my way of thinking than to, go get a regular 9 to 5. Like I almost every 9 to 5 that I had up until I was like probably 28 years old, I quit because I would have an opportunity to make some more money somewhere else.
Right.
And I'll be like, okay, well, I'm willing to stay here for 2 weeks just to make what I could make in 30 minutes. And that's what it was. Like for me at that time, it was as simple as that. So
I think,
yeah, it's I feel like everyone has, I get, and surprisingly enough, the way that I every thoughts, or like the majority of people have these thoughts, is because when people really
okay, so wait a minute. I think we're getting every other word right now. Hi Donna, thank you for tuning in. We're talking about sexual exploitation. But Damaris, you're freezing every other word.
And
I didn't mean
women want to know, like, how do I find them? Where do I look? Like, I need help. I'm tired of
okay. Damaris, do you think you could repeat that last part?
a lot of
Because
people,
yeah, I think you got cut out.
or they get these, you know, I think there's always a survival mode that women get into.
Are you picking it up, Ram?
I can't. She's choppy, and so I was trying to
So,
see if she wants to go out and come back in. Am I choppy to you?
No, I can hear you. It's Damaris. Her signal is very choppy. You're cutting in and out, is what they're saying. Yeah, she's gonna come back in. But man, okay, that's a powerful story already. I mean, my head is going, it's spinning. I got a couple of questions. I hope the internet picks back up, you guys.
That's
But
right.
yeah, but see what I'm saying? When this is definitely can help somebody who's definitely been in her situation for sure.
Right.
So we
And
definitely
not only help someone that's been in her situation, but we automatically put them in we put them in a box when we think of those who have done, not sex trafficking, but her story. You automatically sometimes think that there was some type of trauma that happened, in their younger years that caused them to go this route. But there's so many reasons, so many different reasons as to why an individual will choose to do those things. And so that's what I wanted. I noticed hey, Damaris, can you hear us?
yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
I was like, that sound is perfect. And then she went away. Like, oh my God. I rebuke that demon and send him back to the pit of hell right now. Listen, Linda. Listen, Linda, you're right though. I get what you're saying. Damaris, come on in back and join us. But yeah, we were just trying to dive into your story. I had a couple of questions because I was listening. You had the last part of your story got completely cut out. Not sure really what you were saying.
I don't even know where I ended off.
I heard you say that you particularly navigated to non-black men. Is there a reason?
I don't know. I don't know. It's just, maybe I always resort to Pretty Woman. Like, that's what I always resort to. Because I try to think of, like, okay, I'm 34. So I was sexually active at 12, which was, do the math. And I try to think of what was popular in our culture around that time. And like, I remember watching Pretty Woman. I was like, now that I look back on it, I'm just like, why would we be watching a story about a prostitute falling in love? And like, it's the things that you're like, that what your kid, this was on TV. Like, I didn't buy this movie. Like, this was on.
Yeah, it's the Cinderella story. It was the Cinderella story. The idea is the Cinderella.
But it's these images that you put that are implanted into your head, and you don't even realize it. And you're young, and all you saw was she went from being a streetwalker to she was married to like someone who was like giving her diamonds and surprising her. If you remember, LL Cool J redid that whole like scene with the diamond, like she put her hand in the box and he closed her. He like, so these images are constantly being refreshed in our memory. And then, like you said, Cinderella, like that's a whole rags to riches. Like, oh, you
Right.
found your hand, and like
And
Look,
yeah, yeah, you went out. You went out, but we
you know what, Tina? So it speaks a lot to, because my question would be to her is, so what she saw was these rich white men on TV, I guess, taken care of. Were you around Black men that were successful, or not even necessarily successful, but that were grinding, that worked, that took care of their homes? You know, so if she had an opportunity to see both sides, then she wouldn't think that only white men can provide, or only white men will take care of, or
well, that
it,
I mean, whether it's white or black, it still speaks to the fact that those images they insinuate that we need somebody to rescue us. You know what I mean? And that's not always
absolutely,
and that's with society. So one of the other questions I had was, how long did you live in that valley?
it was really quick. It was literally, I won't say it's quick because it was longer than it should have been. But it was, I'll say, from 2009. Sorry, hold on.
Oh, what? That was a puppy behind you. I thought it was a pillow. No, to be honest, so you said 2009 to 10, a year or so. There's the internet again on her end. But I mean, to be honest, though, there was a period back in the 80s when, like she said, they glamorized all of that. I thought about being a stripper one time. I
right,
did. It was
right,
Yeah, no, I kind of came. I kind of, sorry for the background noise. I kind of came in the So when I came into the life, it was like that was strippers were being glorified on a whole nother level. This is
yes,
like
and
the
you still
make it.
are.
I came into the life in the whole make it rain generation. Like
Right,
Little Wayne strip clubs, Atlanta was huge. Miami had
yeah,
just got like
yeah,
that's when I was just like, oh, and then like I was built for it. This is before women were getting their bodies done and everybody looked alike. Like I was naturally built in
right,
this way. So it's just one of
yeah,
those things where like we don't realize how much our culture shapes society in certain ways. So like while we're sitting
absolutely,
here and we're like we do things and we're not socially responsible, so like we pretty much make things the norm and then be surprised when kids start catching on to stuff. So like if
right,
we're sitting here and you're talking about you're gonna get a stripper and this is what you want and spend money and like one during one of my classes, one of the things that she does is she plays certain songs that were like around in certain time periods, and she had a song by T.I., like Whatever You Like. And everybody, like, we're listening to the song, but mind you, we're in the mind frame of like we're just trying to save these kids and these young girls and don't get it twisted, there's young boys also who are being sexually exploited.
oh
And
yeah.
we're listening to this song and it's like you could have whatever you like you can have this, you can get this, and like it just makes it seem like you could just have all these things, like, so just do whatever I say or just go along with it, or you can do this, and then they'll throw little stuff in there like, oh, you pop a pill and then you're feeling like, so it's just different things that just are in our culture that just shape society in ways where we don't realize that it's like we're being looked at by younger boys, younger girls, and they want the same things that we want, or at least they think that they do.
So yours wasn't during
right.
the brief period that you were a working girl. You didn't really actually live on the street. I mean,
No,
you didn't
no.
do.
So I've done every part of it. Like, so there's a like you said, there's that documentary. Like I 100% understand what he is saying and what he talks about. He's very ignorant. However, what he's saying is not off like at all when it comes to that world. Period. So
And when you say the documentary, are you talking about the one?
you said you mentioned something about it was like a
like white something.
it was like a pimp and he was talking about the girl, but like I haven't seen it. I just somebody sent me because they know me. They sent me like a clip and they were like, "Girl, this is ridiculous." And I was like, truth be told, like the my ex-boyfriend, I was the first person that he like pretty much experienced this with. Like I'm pretty much what he would call like his turnout or whatever.
Right.
And he went on to continue this lifestyle and I think he just got arrested last year. His son actually told me that he was in jail, and I being nosy because I wanted to be messy, and I looked it up, and he's currently doing 18 years for trying to pimp a minor. So, and this is like in a whole nother state. So like, I was like, for me, it was like, oh, let's get this money and survival mode, blah, blah, blah. And I think the lifestyle does something, and I was talking to this with my friend, the lifestyle itself does something to the money and the power of it all. Like you have control over all these women who are willing to, sacrifice and risk their safety and, give themselves fully to complete strangers like that. I think that does something to you mentally. And I've never met anyone who said that they used to be a pimp. Like very few people that are in that life. It's like it does something to the male psyche that like you can't, like I've met plenty of men that have sold drugs, stopped selling drugs. I never met somebody like I used to be pimping and I'm not pimping anymore.
And now
unless they ended up being a rapper or something like that and got rich that way. But it's something about the mentality that something that it changes men, like Black men especially. I've never met any other race, but it changes them. And he's been chasing, my ex chased that high for years to the point where it just landed him in jail. Like it's like your first hit, like the first time you're able to get a girl to do what you want her to do, and she comes and you have 3 or 4 women under you and you're bringing home $5,000 a day and you didn't even have to leave your hotel room. Like, I don't know. I've never experienced it, so I don't know. Maybe I would maybe I wouldn't go back either. But they start, and then they get to the point where they're just so desperate because they're always trying to make money and chase that high. So they go from like, oh, I would never pimp a child to like, oh, you meet a 16-year-old who's with it, and here you are facing 18 years. That used to be his thing. Like I would never like having a minor, like you have to be crazy to have a minor on your team and blah, blah, blah. And years later, what are you in jail for? Like it changes.
Money. What does the word say about money?
Right.
Love money.
And there wouldn't be, and that's another thing that I like to point out, there wouldn't be hoes if there weren't tricks. So
right. Clear. That's what I was gonna say. If they ain't buying, you're not selling what they're not buying. I mean,
right, and
you're buying it.
And I hate to. It's men out here buying. It's women. It's older men. It's younger men. It's men that you look at and you'll be like, why are you paying for it? It's men that are celebrities that could probably get it wherever they wanted to. It's the one of the things that he says in the video is like, oh, street girls, like that's like for crackheads, I have my girls on the internet. And I was like, believe it or not, it's the same men that are on the internet that know exactly how to get from Figueroa to Long Beach Boulevard and to Sepulveda and back. Like, don't think that it's don't get me wrong, it's a certain caliber, but it's all the same. The same person that'll pay $1,000 to do it to, a celebrity person or an Instagram model will pay $50 to do it to somebody on Fig. Like that's the biggest misconception.
Right. They're out there for a reason, and I'm not sure if the video that I saw is the same one you saw because it wasn't a pimp doing the interview. It was just an anonymous male figure doing an interview, and there were successive interviews, and it showed the progression of her demise. She started out, not she was pretty much put together. She was young. She did have a wig on that could have used some work, but the next two, you could just see her like. But her situation was she had gotten addicted to the drugs, and each one she was just totally getting more and more spaced out. But it was her psyche that just, the way she spoke, she definitely came from a broken home and a dysfunctional environment. And so when you speak to the trauma, she was looking for love. She said she had never been loved before, so they do tend to look for love in a lot of the wrong places. And then obviously when she got out there, her father or somebody was molesting her. So that forced her to the street. And then once you get to the street, now you gotta survive. A lot of them is survival.
So the class that I took, it's commercial sex exploitation of children, and they basically take you through the steps. So it starts when you're young, and then there's some type of part where you feel unsafe, your boundaries have been crossed. At some point you don't feel comfortable at home, so you end up leaving, and then that makes you more it makes you a target for predators. So either you get either like just a sexual predator, or in the worst case scenario, in my personal opinion, is somebody who wants to sell you for money. And then there's even, it goes further than that to just say even when you get out of the lifestyle, you're so used to a certain way of mentally dealing with stuff, that you still will find yourself in unhealthy situations. So it's still a cycle, so that's why they put so much emphasis on let's figure let's change their narrative as while they're young, so they know that they are loved, and they know that this doesn't have to be the way things go. I still get a lot of girls that I met, a lot of women that I met during my short period. Like, I was always the same person, so I still, a lot of the girls still would keep up with me or keep in contact with me. And I've gotten DMs from girls who were admit to still, dibbling, dabbling, like they have their regulars that they still see, or they'll just tell me hey, you seem like you just one day you just got out, and what happened, and how did you go about that? Because I'm tired, I have kids, I don't have any kids, so I couldn't even imagine going through the things that I went through with the whole mouth to feed. But it's a lot of women, and again, it's not just the pimps who have a hold of them. Imagine making thousands of dollars a day, and then they want you to go work at Burger King or work at somebody's office where you work minimum wage for two. That's a huge transition, a huge transition. So that's why I'm so adamant about giving women options to be successful, because it never changes. It never this is yeah, this is the mentality of a lot of people. You're always gonna have somebody asking you what you could do for them, and they'll name a price with no problem. They might.
That doesn't change. That's in corporate America as well.
Yeah.
How did you come out? Let's move into that. How did you get out?
So I got into the life 2010, I believe, 2009, 2010. 2010, I was in, again, Miami. It was Super Bowl weekend, and I was like, you know what? The easiest thing for me would to be just go to Miami and just do the strip club thing, because I wasn't fully committed to the living the whole life full time. So I was like, if I could strip, then I'm gonna have to do anything. So I was trying to figure it out. And I had been to Miami and Atlanta just for fun, and I've seen girls walk away with thousands of dollars, just for doing a little booty popping. So I was like, okay, let me try to do that. So I went down there. the club scene is just like, it's not my thing, never has really been my thing. So in an effort to get like in the mood of things, I ended up taking some pills with me, some e-pills. So yeah, so like I commend it, like every stripper in America, like them heels with that walking around and on top of the dancing, because there was so many dancers that at that club, because of Super Bowl, and it was like when King of Diamonds first opened. I don't know if you remember, like if you've ever seen pictures, the club is like 20,000, like it's huge. And I remember just I went one time and I didn't even like, I danced once and that was it. And then I was like, I can't do this. Like I'm gonna go, do an ad like I normally do when I'm at home. So I do the ad. I think first phone call that I get is an undercover. So I end up going, huh?
What's the ad?
Like I put an ad up on a site
Online.
on good old Backpage, and it was the first call that I got was an undercover. So he comes in. I end up getting, because I'm from California, they take me in. I'm in there. I would think I was there for like 30. Was I there for 30 days? I ended up getting bailed out, and I have to fight my case. It took 3 years of me going back and forth to Miami because they thought I was, not because of the soliciting, because of the pills. They were like, you're trafficking like pills. And it was just like a whole thing. Like Miami, if a little word of advice, if you go to Miami or if you travel, period, well, in general, don't commit crimes. But if you travel, don't commit crimes. Because
Right.
you're not from there. You're officially like a
Then go
fugitive.
back and forth.
Right. Like you're a fugitive. They have the right to keep you until the state comes to get you. So just don't do it. So they made me go through all this stuff. I had to get on like they thought that I was gonna like flee the country. Mind you, I had never been in trouble. Like no record, no nothing. So I end up fighting my case for 3 years. In the 3 years, I'm still working, still prostituting, still doing me. And the case ends up closing, so I get probation. Did not follow through with what I was supposed to do for probation. They gave me so many stipulations, it was ridiculous. So I ended up getting a warrant, and 4 years later, so 2014, I get a warrant, and the warrant is it's like a government warrant. Like I basically got pulled over, and they were like, we ran your your thing. Did you know you have a warrant? It's a government warrant out of Florida. So I'm thinking they're just gonna like write me a ticket or something. No, they take me to jail. I wait for 30 days in Orange County, and they ship me back to. They came on the 30th day. They have 30 days to pick you up if you have a warrant out of state. They came on the 30th day and took me back to Miami. In Miami, me and the guy that I was working with, we had already started to part ways. He got extremely abusive. It was hard to just deal with him as a person. So I just decided, like, I'll still, because we were still attached with a lot of things, like we had the same bank account. We had the same, I was on 2 leases. Like we are both on 2 leases for two different apartments in 2 different cities, 2 different cars. Well, we had 3 cars at the time. And it was just too much to just, and he would never just let go. So I pretty much like manipulated an arrangement with him where I'm like, well, I'll work with you on some days, and some days I'm not going to work with you, but I'm going to go and stay elsewhere. So I ended up doing that and getting away with that for a little bit until I ended up getting busted. So when I was in Miami, I was like, I knew in that moment, like, this is my opportunity to just totally separate myself from him. So he still came to visit. He was putting money on my books, paying for everything, sending me food, all that stuff. And then I started to get that, like, the strength to just tell him, like, when we get out of this, like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, I'm over it. This is not the life that I wanted for myself. This is not how we met. This is not how we started. And he was not trying to hear that. So he made this, first he was like super emotional, like, I love you, blah, blah, blah. And then sure enough, like the real him came out, and he probably started thinking about all the money he was losing and all the things he had to give up, these cars and all this other stuff. And he was just like, he's just like, no, like when make sure that you know what you're talking about. And I was like, yeah, like, I don't think I'm built for it. didn't hear from him, stopped putting money on my books, pretty much just like left me there to be in jail. And then I ended up coming home. Truth be told, like I really thought because of our history, we could be like decent with each other, like just as friends. Like I was still staying with my mother. Like when I first got out, I basically had to start all over because he took everything while I was gone. And another girl, like she's some girl that they picked up on the street, like she stole one of the cars and took it to Vegas and tried to take it to a shop. Like it was a whole mess. It was just like not the, don't get me wrong, like it was, it on the outside looking in.
You just got tired. You got tired.
I got tired. If I'm gonna honestly, I didn't even at the time, I didn't even have a problem with the actual act of prostitution. I was just like, I'm not in control anymore. It's not when I want to do it. It's not me picking and choosing who I want to do it with. It's not empowering at all. Like it's pretty exhausting. And I'm like having to, and then like, we just were never, like that relationship was just like probably the worst situation I've ever, like I've never even been with the person who's ever probably, like even when I tell people that know me would never believe all the things that I tolerated.
Right.
So
I want to know.
Did you have friends? Like, did you have any? Did all of you know that you were going through this, and there was?
My best friend knew, and she was like, when she saw us fight, she was like, I can't witness this. And she knows me well enough to know that I'm not like, not to say this is what women do, but I'm not a cry wolf person. So like, I'm not going to tell you I'm done with something until I know I'm done. So there was no, I meet girls all the time like, girl, I'm just going to leave him alone and da-da-da-da-da. Like, I ain't doing all that. I know when I'm done and I know when I'm not done. So I didn't tell anyone the extent of it to everyone else. Like the crazy part is no one bothered to really, I'm pretty good at hiding certain things. So no one really understood or knew what was going on. No one cared about anything but the money. It was like, oh, she got a 750. She got I had a Lexus, I had a 750, and I had a Suburban. And like, no one cared about
you had the stuff.
Everybody.
You had the stuff.
I had the stuff. I had a loft downtown. It's actually close to where I just passed by it today. Like, I had a loft downtown. I also had a apartment in North Hollywood. Like, everyone just wanted to be around me. It's pretty much the same how it is now, but now people want to be around me because of who I am. But I was always who I was. Plus, I had the stuff. So I had like anything you could possibly.
How did that make you feel? How did that make you feel that people just wanted to be around you? Did that make you feel good?
People
like, I'm needed.
Like, I still have the same friends that I had then, except for people. It's the same people, same type of people. Like, the one thing I could say that I'm grateful for is I'm not bitter because of it. Like, I was always the same person. I just had this, like, I was pretty much living like a double life at the time. Right. So it was like, you see me when we go out and we have fun, we pop bottles, we do everything. It's great. You come over, whatever, but then you got to leave because I got to go work. And right. No one knew exactly what I was doing. And because I was still the same person that I am, people thought I was like, you thought I was doing branding then, because I used to throw parties. Like, I was like, I had a life before I met him, and it just kind of like, it slowed down, and then it came to a complete halt. This is all I was doing for X amount of years. And then I popped like back up and it was just like, okay, I'm done. So we were still cool. And then I realized, like, he's not going to change. This lifestyle has completely like transformed he's not even like a person at this point. Like, I would honestly compare him to the devil, but that's just me. But he's not the same person. That's
the second time I've heard somebody say that too. But what I hear is you always had a CEO spirit.
That's how it's scary because that's how we met. He wanted to do it after hours, and I was like, let's do it. Like, he low-key was my trick when we started. He was like, oh, what do you need? What do I need? I want business cards. He would give me like $100 for, that was like his going rate for everything. Oh, what do you need? You need a phone number for your business? Okay, I'll get you one. Phone numbers for your business like $10 online. he would give me like $100 to go do this. Oh, keep it. I don't care. Oh, what are you doing? Like every time, you know how you meet up with a guy and sometimes you come over his house or sometimes you go over his house. Every time we hung out, period, I don't care if it was for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, we would literally sit down and have dinner somewhere. Like,
so then everybody's hearing that he was baiting you in with giving you things.
Exactly.
So what would you tell? Shoot, I won't even say young girl, but young girl, 20-year-old girl. Ram, your favorite question. What would you tell the young 20-year-old girl today?
And that's what I was going to ask her. What are you offering? What could you offer someone that was you? What could you offer the 21-year-old you today?
I'm different. Like nothing could have been, no one could have said anything to me in that moment that would have been like, Damaris, like, you know, that like I knew that I was better than what was happening. It was the person that I was attached to. So when I know you guys can relate to that at least that much. When you messing with somebody, you messing with them, and nobody can tell you nothing about your boo. I don't care. And I knew
yours sounded like there was some trauma somewhere at the younger age, not molestation, but it did sound like this whole time you were making conscious decisions to live the life.
It was never, I wasn't drugged. Like I was definitely, he introduced me to drugs, but like we used to pop pills together and have a freaking ball and then wake up like, you know, we weren't, it was so, there was a lot of parallels, but there also was not, like, it wasn't the typical situation. So I feel like the one thing that I would say, number one, preventative wise, is if you see someone who is not in it appears that they're not in a healthy relationship and they're like young, because I know it's 10 times worse when they're young.
Right.
So like with him, I was just very much, I was the CEO. If anything that he needed business-wise, I was there. And I think he also felt like, okay, well, if I start this now, like she could turn it into like, I could be Hugh Hefner out here. Like I think that's another one of the mental images that I think we also have. If you think about Hugh Hefner and he had all these women or whatever. Yeah, women, and they were like submissive. They lived in this mansion. He had a bunch of them, and they were, to rumor has it, they were doing a little prostituting themselves. So
it was.
Yeah. So it's like I would definitely, like, if I'm talking to me, I would definitely try to, I think if I had some type of responsibility outside of him, like he basically fueled everything I wanted to do business wise. I was able to produce my first party. We had a BT weekend party. Everybody was there. Ray J, Jim Jones, everybody that was popping at the time. BT weekend, we rented a mansion. We didn't have no permits or nothing. And it was the shit. We did it 2 years in a row. It was everything. But that was the first and last time I ever did anything like that, of that magnitude. But this is something that I've been wanting to. Pink Money initially started to be a promotional company. I wanted to have female promoters and have us, you know, throw parties and do all this stuff. And he basically took those dreams and those wants and he exploited them. So like if someone else had given me an opportunity and it wasn't connected to this person, I could have been equally, if not more successful than I am today. And I think that's a part of the issue, is that when we see opportunities to tap into other, like, young girls' dreams and like, oh, you really know how to do hair well, like let me help you go to school to do hair. Like I used to try to do different stuff all the time. Like I was always searching for a new business to start or whatever. Like I started young trying to start businesses, so not 18. If I had someone that saw that in me at a young age and was like tapped into that, I would have been devoted to that dream, and I would have had to abandon all of that to be with this person. And I don't think I would have done that because I just so happened to not be doing anything at the time. Like I was like, oh, okay, this is working.
Well, the thing is, the principle is principle, right? It's the vehicle that in that takes us to the direction or to the location that we get to.
Absolutely.
And so that's why, as an advocate, the advocate that you are today, it is you're kind of held responsible to be a vehicle for someone who could possibly go down the road that you've gone down.
Yeah, because it all comes down
and say
to,
that
yeah,
you take the same work ethics and you place it here. You do the same exact thing, but you do it in a manner where you can have some dignity about yourself. You do it in a manner where you're not tearing your body down as a result.
exactly.
But have those same principles. You are a go-getter and you still are, which is amazing.
Yeah, and I still connect with people. Like, I hate to say this, like, especially nationally or whatever, wherever the reach is, Africa, but I still talk to some of the people that were paying me to do unruly things. I'm still cool with them, and they'll still, if I need anything, they'll give it to me, and I don't have to see them. They don't live here no more. Like, I make connections with people, and that's why the things that you're good at, the things that you are, I just strongly feel like sometimes you go through something and it's for no other reason but for you to be able to help another similar group of people that have gone through the same thing. Because anyone who knows me knows they have no idea how I got into that situation. Even if they like met him, they'll be like, okay, I understand you talking to him because he was, he was dark skinned, he was thick, that's when Rick Ross came out. He almost exactly like had the whole demeanor of Rick Ross. He had the beard before everybody got beards. He had the glasses, he had Gucci, like Gucci. He had the look. Like he could get, even when I met him, like I solely date women now, but at the time, like he could pull just about any woman in the club just because of what he had. And I was like all for it. Like, yeah, bring them on. So like everything that I was in me, like he catered to. And I think that's another thing that as women, we don't realize that like men are this is all I can say is men are extremely transactional.
Right. Oh, they're absolutely.
There's very few men that don't think with the thought of I'm going to do this because I want this. And I don't care how small it could be. It could be like I'm gonna say good morning every morning just so that I could be the first thing she thinks about when she wakes up. So like it's very like tit for tat. So when you think of a man, you have to really, as exciting as you may be about him, you have to kind of separate that, understand that men don't think like us. So
let me get into, because we're running up on the hour now. Let me get into Pink Money Powerhouse. What is that? And then we'll wrap it up. We had some questions. Somebody had missed. We'll end it with the dessert and catch a couple of questions before we go. So tell us all about Pink Money at this point.
So Pink Money is basically, like I said, I wanted an opportunity to connect with women who, were at some point like how I was and just wanting to either start something or just needed support in order to fuel whatever passions or whatever is in your spirit to do. Like you should at least have the opportunity to have a support system to see, even if it's just to see that, okay, maybe I don't want to do this anymore. But I feel like people don't have a soundboard. Sometimes you might sound crazy to the next person. You might not have a place to go where you feel safe to be creative. Maybe being creative isn't your thing, but you know that you want to do something other than what you're doing. I just felt like there should be a place or a space where people could do that comfortably, free of judgment. And I can honestly say that I've been blessed to, like, there's no drama, and there's been hundreds of women who come in and out of, I have a meeting every month to allow women to like network in here in LA. And it's literally been 3 years and we've had like hundreds of women like come to the meetings. Usually it's like a group of anywhere from 15 to 30 women that come to each meeting, and we've never had any drama. It's just like the most beautiful thing to just know that we're all connected, even though we all come from different backgrounds and different places. So that's been a huge blessing, and that's like a nonprofit side of it. The Pink Money Powerhouse, I partnered with a friend of mine who wanted to open a co-working space, another friend who wanted a space to sell her retail, and then another friend who wanted a place to, to teach her classes. She's a pole instructor. So I partnered with the women who I knew kind of had the same drive with different goals. So we're not, stepping on each other's toes. And we partnered together and we got a space in South LA right off of Slauson. And it's basically a multi purpose space. Like it'll be a co-working space. You can have your classes, you can hold your meetings. It's also a coffee shop, which my girlfriend serves. Will be serving the coffee there or teaching women like that want to like get into the coffee industry because it's like $1 billion industry. Different from roasting to actually being a barista to
so it's a network place,
yeah,
basically.
so it's pretty much, it's like Pink Money being brought to life. So if you need a place to sell your products, you can have your first, we can be the first place that you're able, because most people are selling stuff online, but a lot of people won't buy stuff online still. They want to see it, touch it, feel it, make sure that it's, something that they want on their skin or in their house, and that you have that opportunity with us to say like, okay, well, I sell my stuff here at this specific location. And then pretty much just is the physical form of the organization itself.
Wow.
So with your organization, with what you're doing now, is there anything that you implemented for the young ladies that are in that arena? Have you implemented? I know you've taken classes, and I know that you're certified now. But is there something that you are like full force going through, or you're starting to do for those ladies?
So yeah, I took 2 classes because, truth be told, it's a very dangerous advocacy to take up. You could easily be trying to minister or do something nice for someone. Like if I were to drive down like Figueroa, if anyone's from LA, you know where that is. If I were to go and try to, help someone who was trying to get away from an aggressive pimp or something like that, like I could possibly be putting myself in danger. So
Right.
the proper way to do it this early in the game for me is to work through other existing organizations who specialize in that kind of trauma. Like I would have to specifically, like I wanted to be properly trained with, because I was in it in a different capacity, like I explained before, but dealing with younger women and children is totally different than talking to like someone who could be my homegirl. So, and then also just to protect myself from like being, I also don't, you have to get certain security, because if I take your moneymaker and bring her to my space, then you're causing havoc trying to get her out of my space because you want your moneymaker back. So
Right.
it's a process.
I know there's one thing.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's a process. So first and foremost, I plan on going. There's a few going through the program. They share with you a list of organizations that help women in this sector, and like you're basically able to work through those programs in order to help whoever you can help. So I plan on instilling specific programs for those girls so they're able to come to the space and work, because a lot of them are already in transitional housing. So the plan is to like, a couple of days a week or one day, like just because they have to get a sense of normalcy, they too have to have a certain routine. So just basically letting them know like, oh, like what are some of your likes? What are some of your, passions? What are some of the dreams? And then they can then come to the space for a set amount of time during the week at some point and just be able to like work with someone that's there, or that's like the first phase of it. So we'll see how that goes and then be able to move. Yeah, to move on.
It's a starting point.
Yeah.
We're going to close it up. Get the dessert. We got a couple of questions. One of them you pretty much kind of already answered. Somebody had asked, "Are you doing anything at the space for the young ladies of the night, or working ladies?"
Yeah, and we are going to be doing hygiene distribution, because they put a lot of emphasis on that. They don't want it to be about getting out of the life. Like, they don't want that to be the focus. They want the focus to be like, there's someone here for you, that we are meeting you where you are. It's not
Where you,
like we're not obsessed with like changing your whole entire life, because you have to, that's a huge responsibility like to live up to. So
it's a whole nother
yeah.
liability as well, like you said.
Yeah.
Another dessert question was, does your company provide? Uh, no, we did that one. Do you assist with criminal records? Being
Oh
that you,
yeah. I have a bunch of resources, like from where you can get hired with the criminal record to exactly like what you can do about your criminal record. I actually had to do that for myself, because obviously I had trafficking in all types of solicitation arrests. There are laws that are, hoping to be passed in the next couple of years that won't, if you were sexually exploited, you could say that that was your situation, and they won't list it on your record, and they'll expunge it and seal it and all that good stuff. But there are resources that I have, like for here. I don't know if they're national, but for here in California or Los Angeles County for sure, that basically will get, they take they run your record, they get rid of everything so that you're able to get back into the, be a civilian or to be a citizen again, and a regular part of the community, and not looked at as like, you used to be a hoe or a prostitute or whatever the case is.
one other question, they missed it. They signed on a little late. How long were you out there?
I was in the life for about from 2000, I believe from 2010, and then I went to jail in April of 2014. So almost like 3-4 years, and then it was on and off. And then I actually, even after, I still had a sugar daddy for like 2-3 years. So it's one of those things, like I had to make sure that um, it's a process. Like, it's really hard transitioning, and if it's hard for me, and I have tools and resources, and I know how to figure stuff out, like I couldn't imagine going through it again, like with a kid, or with super traumatic history. So like, yeah, it takes in comparison to a lot of the women that have been in it since they were 12, 13 years old.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it was like 3-4 years.
All right, we got two more, and then we're gonna wrap it up.
Okay.
One question was, what made you start dating girls? Does that have anything to do with, I don't know that?
That was all right. That's a very good question. Just so we're clear, because I do get a lot of people that are like, "Oh, is it because of everything that you went through?" The answer is no. I was the first sexual encounter that I had was when I was very young, and it was with a woman. So the woman thing is 100% genuine. It just so happens I don't claim to be a lesbian. I don't use very that strong term. It's a very strong term. I am attracted to both, but I think a part of what I will say is that I have seen the worst sides of some men, I feel. And men are just a lot of work, and I love transparent. I love transparency. I
Women
love
don't.
to communicate. I don't like to try to figure out what you got going. I don't. Men are very simple, and they kind of only have like a. They just
That's another lie.
that's just
That's
not for me.
another lie.
I'm good, but yeah, I've been. This has been me from girls 6-7 years old, when I used to play house and I used to be the daddy. Like, this goes way back. So yeah.
All right, so we wrapped that up, y'all. It had nothing to do with what she was going through. Last question: where are you located? I'm guessing they're talking about Pink Money Powerhouse where people can go to empower each other. I don't think they're asking where you are. Let's hope
Yeah,
not.
no, you can't know that.
Right.
Please, okay. Pink Money Powerhouse is on Slauson. If you're in the LA area, it's right across from McGarvey
What's
English
the address?
Gardens.
We're gonna
2714 West Slauson Avenue. Obviously, we're closed due to coronavirus and COVID-19 and all that good stuff. But we plan on having another grand opening. And we were again in the process of we were painting and doing all this stuff, and all that stuff was put to a halt. But yeah, it's
2714 West Lawson Avenue.
West Austin Avenue, Los Angeles.
Okay, I put it up. All right. Oh my God, Damaris.
That was a lot. This is my first interview about it.
No,
So
that's
it
good.
was a lot of like I'm gonna have to go stage and have a glass of wine.
Oh, that's the question that I want to have. Are you still in therapy?
Oh yeah. I
You
don't
are.
even
Is that
I'm still in therapy. I actually got started during a free, like it's a free program. It's if you're in the, actually, I think they're nationwide. If you can't afford therapy or don't think that you could afford therapy, you can call Dee Hirsch. It's a program. It's in LA. If you have Medi-Cal or no insurance at all, they still will take you and they'll just have you get Medi-Cal. I didn't, at the time that I signed up, I didn't have any money, and that was like my first experience with therapy. I was never against it. I know that our community kind of frowns upon it, but it's like it's helped tremendously. Like just having someone, and my therapist is white. I'm also pointing that out because that's another misconception that like you can't connect with the therapist that's not like you. I think it's kind of the opposite. Like I feel like sometimes you don't want to have too many. I wanted a fresh set of ears. Like I think too often we hear these traumatic stories about people that look like us, and we relate too well to where we are desensitized. So we kind of feel like it's not a shocker to us. Like you could tell me something traumatic happened to you that happened to somebody else that I know, and I'm just gonna be like, okay, oh, you were molested, okay. Like it should be. We don't get the reactions that we would get in the normal world. And my therapist is white, and she's amazing, and she was able to just really open my eyes to certain behaviors and things. I see her every week or every other week depending on what's going on in the world. But yeah, therapy is everything. I suggest that everybody goes and talks to somebody. It might not be the first therapist that you sit with. You might have to go through a few therapists, but give it time and allow yourself to have those conversations. Like you might not even think that you need therapy, but just sitting down talking to an unbiased person who doesn't know you anything about you other than what you tell them is a healing process in itself.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing your story at the table. We appreciate it. And
I'm glad
especially,
we finally got the technical stuff out of the way.
yeah, I mean,
horrible.
we just prayed that demon right on out. And I think it was a healing process for all of us. I mean, like you said, it's opening our eyes to the images we see. We need to be mindful of the imagery that we're paying attention to. And therapy, at the end of the day, is very helpful if you've ever been through any of these things. And for anybody who wants to kind of reach out to Damaris, what's your handle, Damaris?
Pink Money CEO on mostly everything. I think it's everything. Pink Money CEO on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook is same thing. Or you could look up the Pink Money CEO, and then my business page will pop up. But you'll figure it out.
By the way, I love your page, and you do branding as well, right?
I do.
Branding.
That's my bread and butter.
Right.
And so yeah, like I pretty much I find ways to incorporate my story with my brand, with my actual work. So it's definitely been a blessing. And I try to help as many people as I can. My prices are extremely affordable because I know how it is to just want to grow and you see other people doing stuff, and then in your head you think it's impossible because you need all this money. But my goal is to just help as many people as I can by helping them understand a lot of it, because a lot of stuff we just don't understand it, and basically explaining it in a way where you can just end up doing it, save some money and do it for yourself until you make enough money to just hire everybody.
Right.
So that's the goal.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Time.
Great
We gotta
story.
do something.
Yeah, we have to hang out like outside of this.
Absolutely. I'm coming up to the powerhouse. Trust me, I'm coming. I love what you do, and those pictures are absolutely gorgeous. Thank you again.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you for having me.
So much. I appreciate you.
Okay, there you have it. We had it right here at the table, all you young ladies. It does not actually have to be molestation or something super dramatic to get you out there. It just is sometimes a desire for a certain lifestyle, but you got to be careful because you can get really caught up in that and get carried away with the money, and all the things, you know, and
the stuff.
The stuff, that part, you know.
Yeah.
So we're talking about exploitation tonight, you guys. In case y'all missed it, it was sexual exploitation with Miss DAMARIS GANDY of Pink Money CEO, and she's got Pink Money Powerhouse, and so that was an awesome show. I could have went on with a whole bunch of more questions, but we only got an hour.
Yeah.
And we done went far past. Yeah. So you guys join us here again next week, same time. We at the table. Who we got next week, Ram? Do we know?
We have Miss Tanya DeFreitas. Miss Tanya DeFreitas. You guys be looking for the posts. We'll be sending out posts beginning tomorrow regarding the topic and what we'll be talking about next week. And we may possibly have some good soup next week as well.
Yeah, Miss DeFreitas. That's another super empowering story. I'm looking forward to seeing that, to hearing that one as well. So y'all, thank you for tuning in tonight. Y'all join us again next week, 7 p.m. on Facebook, YouTube. Sorry, IG family. They ain't giving us a platform there, but you know, we gonna be at the table, pull up a chair where no topic is too heavy or too light.
Or too light.
For the table.
Bye, you guys.
Good night.